Adobe's past, present, and future, and the thinking game. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Incogni. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Get 60% off an annual plan at incogni.com/Chuck and use the code Chuck at checkout. Jeff, I wish Mark Fuccio were here. I don't know if he's still in the chat room. He was a little bit earlier. But I was anxious to get your take on this, that Adobe stock has slumped more than 45% since the end of 2023, reflecting analyst concerns over the threat of AI-driven disruption to SaaS companies. And I can't help but wonder that myself, especially given Adobe's focus on the very high end. And that seems to be one of the things that AI is really doing well, is doing a lot of high-end tasks that otherwise you would have had to do the old 25 steps in Photoshop thing.
Well, on one hand, yes. But on the other hand, Adobe Creative Cloud, I mean, these are apps for professional creators. And there's definitely a place in what professional creators are doing where AI can fit in and be really useful. Like one of the places where Adobe was really forward in the market with using AI was in Photoshop, with the way they could intelligently remove elements from images and make that hole that's left behind just blend in seamlessly. And so stuff like that. It's been amazing what Adobe's been able to do there. As far as is this really something that's taking away from Adobe's business? Well, I mean, clearly, yes, but I don't think it's taking away in the way that a lot of people are assuming. So there's a lot of people out there that are like not professional designers that are using AI tools to create images and or remove that person, that X from a photo, whatever, that previously would have either been using Photoshop or would have gone to someone and either as a favor gotten a friend to do it for them or paid a company to do it for them. Now they're doing it with these AI tools. So the big setup for me to say, the big problem I'm seeing here is that Adobe is a very, very big iceberg in the design industry. And it takes a lot of energy to take that giant iceberg that's flowing in one direction and get it to pivot and move in the direction that the market is expecting, and that I'm sure Adobe is trying to head towards as well. So I guess now it's like the race is on. Can Adobe get there before their efforts become irrelevant and they become a company that, I don't want to say like Quark, but sort of like Quark. So Quark, that used to be the name in desktop publishing. And they lost that to Adobe with InDesign. And
but didn't they take it away with PageMaker?
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Web. This is one of the reasons I love you. You just know this stuff. So yes. Okay. Since Web opened that door for me, we're running with it. Okay. So
sorry.
Yeah, Chuck, that's on you for letting both of us in. Okay, so what happened was we had the golden the golden triangle. It was PageMaker, PostScript, like the LaserWriter printer, and the Mac, and that opened up a whole new world for publishing, and created that's where we get the term desktop publishing, and so PageMaker was the name. That was the only game in town. Then Quark comes along with Express.
Mm-hmm.
And Quark Express, turns out they were able to create this product. Tim Gill was a brilliant man, and they created Quark Express, and then that ended up eating PageMaker's lunch. And so Macromedia, because it was Aldous, then Macromedia, and this is my kind of inside baseball, people. So then Macromedia, they're like, you know what we need to do? We need to take PageMaker to a new level. And we need to make it the most modern and flexible page layout desktop publishing tool in the world. So they started working on that, and they made this framework where you had the core application, but the rest of it was modular. So you buy the elements you need to plug in and make your new version of PageMaker do what you need. That never came to market in that form because Adobe ended up buying them because they saw what this new PageMaker was going to be, and they're like, "That's it. That's what we need." And so that PageMaker became InDesign. So yes, in a convoluted sort of way, PageMaker ended up eating Quark's lunch. But Quark didn't go away because they had been working on their like large volume publishing platform that's used for magazines and newspapers. And so while InDesign grew and became that big platform for the general desktop publishing world, Quark, they had this other high-end space that they controlled. And Adobe to this day still has not been able to break through that. And so Quark, it's not a name that a lot of people think of anymore, but they still have a business that's doing well in the niche that it handles. And so maybe at some point down the road, we see Adobe, or at least parts of what Adobe does, end up going down the same path that Quark has gone down. But in the meantime, we have a market where everyone's so focused on here's what we're doing with AI right now. Look at what I can do. I don't need Photoshop anymore. I don't need Illustrator anymore. And holy crap, this is going to kill Adobe. They're going to be gone in a year. And how often have we heard people talk about Apple is irrelevant, they're going to be gone in a year, and look at where Apple is today. Adobe's not going anywhere, but boy, their stock isn't worth what it was last year.
And they're under, Jeff, two things that, as you were talking about that, just came to mind. First of all, they're under attack from multiple sides because the general AI LLMs are out there attacking, and then you have things like Canva that are attacking. And so it really is interesting. But I guess I think about some of the things that I used to try to do or wanted to do with Photoshop. And now I could tell an LLM to do it. And I could tell it, okay, use Helvetica text and extrude it, 20% or to, X number of degrees of depth, and make it purple and wrap it in 3D polka dots. And it would do it. But what I would have had to, the knowledge I would have had to acquire to do it in Photoshop, and then pay for Photoshop, and then spend the time to actually do it, that's where I think that a lot of designers or people that do maybe more mundane design, they're not going to need Photoshop anymore. They're not going to need the Creative Cloud anymore.
And you're right. And this is a place where I think Adobe's marketing has stumbled, because everything that you were describing, you were talking about the perfect marketing opportunity for Photoshop Elements. And the thing is, I'd say 90% of the people that use Photoshop proper would be better served with Photoshop Elements, which I haven't checked recently. Can you even get Photoshop Elements anymore? I don't know. But it was a standalone product, perpetual license. You'd get it, and in many cases, it would do exactly what you said. It's like, I've got this image. Here's what I want to happen to it. You click some buttons and boom, it's done. And this predates the whole let's use generative AI to create all this content. And it was an amazing tool. And if you were smart enough to know where to look, you could even do the pro Photoshop things in Elements. You just had to know which menus to go look in and essentially unlock something just by knowing where it was. And the money, I think, for Adobe was let's get everyone in Creative Cloud. But I think the price that they've paid for that is they could have really locked in a substantial number of users just with Photoshop Elements and maintained those users even as we're getting into more AI use for creating content.
Webb, you're a well-known graphic designer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I wasn't here last week when you talked about the new creative suite that Apple did. Well, maybe we'll get to that after dark. I just a couple of things I wanted to point out. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Boca Raton, Florida, the home of the IBM PC. Okay, that's where the team, that the engineering team, where they were stationed, when they came up with with the MS-DOS and the whole bit. So, and the thing that brought, this is Webb's opinion, the thing that really brought the IBM PC into the corporate world as a serious player was when Lotus 123 came out. That's just kind of, other things happened, but that was the key event that really brought the PC, the IBM PC, into the corporate world. It was Aldous and PageMaker and the laser writer that brought the Mac to the corporate world. There are other things too, but that was the one that got a lot of the people in my world's attention. Now, I already had a Mac. Well, if you remember, I said at one point I had a Lisa, but I had a Mac Plus, and I had the laser writer to go with it, and I was able to take my graphics team and my publication team and show them what I can do. And what do you think happened the following week? They got an Apple and they got a laser writer too, because it just really changed that deal. So the thing that bothers me about Adobe, and there are 10,000 stories in the city, and there are 10,000 stories within Adobe as an enterprise. But man, they own the market. And I think they got so set in their ways that they didn't evolve. And I mean, they could still own part of that whole graphics enterprise. And to a certain extent, they kind of do. But there are other options that we have. There are other less expensive options. And the whole Creative Cloud has caused some angst in my shop that we don't subscribe to it anymore. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. So it's just interesting how this world has changed. And like I said, there were some things that we said that they owned the enterprise, and and they lost it. Go ahead.
Has anybody mentioned that PageMaker was not originally an Adobe product? They bought that from Aldous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You missed that part because I was talking way too fast. Webb. Okay, so everything you were just saying, you started touching on a place where Adobe, I think, has had a lot of trouble getting the traction compared to other companies, and that's with the collaboration part.
Yeah,
and there are so many other tools out there that do the collaboration better than Adobe does. Now, Adobe is doing some really cool things in that space, but they haven't been able to get the traction that other companies have picked up. And to me, this is one of the reasons why Canva getting the Affinity apps and then bundling it together as a free package for people is such a big thing. It's not going to take down Adobe, but it's something that Adobe needs to be paying close attention to and figure out how to address, because it underscores the limitations that they have in collaboration.
IBM is still in business, but
not like they were.
No,
well,
not like they were.
That was my point. I don't think Adobe, Adobe is still going to be around 40 years from now, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But, are they still going to be will people be saying, oh yeah, not like they were, they've kind of become a legacy company that's, resting on where they've been and milking, everything they can get. They were like, yeah, okay, we're going to charge you $700 a year, and less and less people are going to be saying, oh yeah, great, that's awesome.
It almost comes down to what do you have to have? What can you do without? What alternatives are there? And those three factors, the alternatives are growing by leaps and bounds. And so the question of, do I have to have it? Do I want it? Would it be nice to have? Sure. But do I have to have it? When I balance that out against a lot of other services, pieces of hardware, those kind of things.
I think, if it's not your full-time living, Adobe's sort of like, if you're not doing this for a full-time living, we don't care about you. Well, it's getting to the point where a lot of that work is being done by people that aren't doing it for their full-time living.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Real good point.
So
Also,
in the
Barry in the
chat,
chat room says, oh, yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, what you do?
Oh, so I'm doing Chuck's job now. Okay, so Barry in the chat, thank you for the info on Photoshop Elements, and yes, it's still around. Shows you how often I look for that. But he also says, for this retired graphic designer, Affinity, Studio, and Canva, and Apple's Creative Studio will be enough for me to unsubscribe from Adobe Creative Cloud. Barry, you're not alone. I think that there are a not insignificant number of part-time freelance graphic designers and even small graphic design shops that can now look at packages like what you just described as alternatives to Creative Cloud and save a ton of money, especially since you can export to Adobe compatible formats when everything has to go off to the printer.
Well, I think that's another aspect, is how much stuff goes to a printer anymore.
A lot.
Yeah, but a lot of stuff doesn't.
That's true.
Print is not what it was 20 years ago. And, most things are going towards the web or towards apps. Adobe's expensive tool chain is very print oriented. Like, oh, you need these expensive tools so you can print on a 4-color press. But a lot of stuff, and it just isn't going to. I think it's kind of at a risk of sort of repeating myself in a different way. It's an awful lot like I remember in the 80s, people in the typesetting business thought, they were set for, another 25 years or whatever. And I'm like, you need to be looking for something else to do. And they're like, oh, no. This isn't going to be replaced. I think Adobe is kind of in that position.
Well, I agree. And but also a lot of what Adobe has done over the years is focus on web, and not just web Bixby, although taking in his considerations is vital. But remember when they bought the company Go Live for their Cyber Studio product, and then rebranded it as Go Live, and that was the most amazing early CSS website developing tool. When they did their Macromedia purchase, they got Dreamweaver, and they have incorporated things from those platforms that they purchased into their overall web strategy because they want to be able to do everything. And one of the things they tout now is, well, you can design once, deploy everywhere. Sounds kind of familiar. But at the same time, everything you were saying about people who are doing stuff for the web, there's so many other options and tools out there that people can turn to that will give them the product they want at a fraction of the cost of using Creative Cloud.
Well, I think, talking about the web, does anybody serious use those tools you're talking about? I mean, web development, it's done with React, it's done with Vue and Angular. Most of the edit, it's all, done in code. And, people aren't using Dreamweaver or, anything like that for any kind of serious production web work. That's just not even on the radar.
It depends on who you talk to. Okay, so a lot of that can be just the front end part. Well, yes, React and all of that is the back end, and you can export so it interfaces. But the bigger thing that I'm seeing,
I disagree. React is front end technology.
But what Adobe's doing will tie into that. But what I'm seeing more is that more and more companies are relying on their CMS, like WordPress, and they're using either Creative Cloud tools or other tools to create graphic elements that go into the website that's being designed. And it is no longer the primary tool for their web design, for their website creation. It's now just an element in making the pretty parts happen.
But I would say that to create those graphic images, they don't have a big edge. And, to make that kind of image, you could do that in Pixelmator Pro or with the Canva tools.
Yeah.
And Photoshop is not, where Photoshop and those tools is in the stuff that's designed for 4-color press printing. It doesn't buy you much for web production. Certainly not for the expense.
To back up at least part of what you're saying, I stopped using Adobe's tools years ago when Affinity, when their tools, when their standalone apps were robust enough that I didn't need Photoshop or Illustrator. And now I don't even have to pay for them. I downloaded the Affinity combo app and started using it. I still have the standalone individual apps on my computer, but I haven't launched any of them since I downloaded Affinity. I'm set. I don't have to pay for the tools that I use professionally to create these things anymore. That should be a big concern for Adobe.
I haven't used any Adobe stuff since they went to subscription. So that was 25 years ago. I was just like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. And you're not alone.
No.
Yeah. Eric?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, as soon as a company gets big enough and controls enough of the market, and starts to do things with subscription models and just run rate revenue and forgets about new users and individual users, they have a whole some of the most creative parts of their potential audience starts to look for workarounds and to go somewhere else. And like Google with Google searching, all of a sudden felt the need they had to do something else when everybody started doing searching using AI tools. Adobe, I think, is going to run into some of that same problem where people have a bunch of free tools they can download now or something else that is good enough to get the work done, and the Adobe tools are just too expensive and you're not required to use it. Now jump in with an AI tool, jump in with some like Affinity or one of the Apple downloads or something else, and you get tech schools trying to teach The graphic arts, yep. If you're going to go out and do commercial work, you need to know the Adobe stuff. But if you're just are trying to do something locally or for yourself or for a small business, there isn't the money in the budget to be buying those tools. So workarounds are definitely being looked at. And that's a big danger for somebody like Adobe, having a whole generation of people that have never used their product and never needed to.
Yeah. Eric, you said they do the workarounds, which brings it back to Canva and Affinity, because Adobe is the workaround when it comes to collaboration. And there are other tools that you can get for a lot less that give you those elements that that Adobe isn't able to really provide the way customers want.
No, there's also Figma.
And there's Figma. Yep.
So I guess to try to put a bow on this of some kind, Adobe has to figure out a reason and has to communicate that reason that you want to choose Adobe over some of the other options. And I don't know that right now. Before, it was real easy. I mean, it was Photoshop or you were playing with toys, I think was the message that I always took away until the toys started getting a lot better. But now there are no more toys. There are a lot of powerful tools out there, and Adobe needs to get a message out there as to why you need to pay for Creative Cloud, why you need their software.
I think there's been pretty powerful tools for 20 years. You know, I mean, really, Adobe is just like, well, if you're going to be doing something on a 4-color press, then you need Adobe's tool chain.
Or if you're making a professional movie, or if you're doing professional audio editing. And granted, there are plenty of other tools out there now, but those are.
I don't think Adobe never owned those markets, and I don't think they do now.
I would disagree with you on that. The big name movies, the editing is all happening with Adobe tools.
And most of the audio had a big chunk of that.
They have a big chunk of that too.
Yeah, Final Cut and DaVinci, and there's some other things that are coming along.
I don't think Final Cut does anymore, but it did for a while.
It still has its aficionados.
But I don't think 4-color press. That's you have to use Adobe products. And that's never been the case for movie production. You've always had choices of, basically Adobe's only had a monopoly on professional print production. And they're basically, it's like they're the mainframe of that business. And they're, treating it like IBM did the mainframe market 40 years ago.
Again, these are discussions that are going to continue because things are evolving so fast. It's staggering. I mean, some of the things we're talking about, we're really reaching back 20, 25 years ago. And if you look at the change, the rate of change 25 years ago was slow. The rate of change in the last 3 to 5 years has picked up dramatically. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens, because Jim, I think you were the one that said IBM is still in business. Like, yeah, they still are, but they're not what they were. They would have slipped away.
It is still a large company.
Oh, absolutely. Taking nothing away from where they are, but they had it wrapped up. Everybody thought, that they could never have happened to them. What happened to them?
For buying Big Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. And right now you can't get fired for purchasing Microsoft, even though you should be fired for purchasing Microsoft. And, you can't get fired for purchasing Adobe, because there's still plenty of people that are thinking like it's the old days and we need those professional tools. Maybe not. MacVoices is supported by Incogni. Take back your data privacy with Incogni. If you've ever searched for your name or address in Google, it's shocking to find how many results have your personal information, and it's not by chance. Data brokers and people search sites collect your personal information, your name, address, phone number, financial information, income, and hundreds of other records. They sell and share it publicly without your consent. But Incogni is here to put an end to that. I like to think of Incogni as my personal cleanup crew, sweeping my data off the internet while I get other things done. Incogni also launched a new feature called Custom Data Removals, available in their unlimited plan. It allows you to send any link from any site that exposes your data, and then Incogni's privacy professionals will go after it. No bots, no forms. Just real people making your data disappear. This is especially useful for removing records from places like legal databases or people search engines that don't play nice with traditional opt-outs. I really love the transparency that Incogni offers when it comes to their removal requests. When I log on, my dashboard shows me how many removal requests have been made and how many data brokers my data have been removed from. It's really interesting to see the tool working in real time. Right now, you can get 60% off their annual plans by heading to incogni.com/Chuck and using the code Chuck at checkout. It's also completely risk-free. Incogni offers a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not satisfied with them removing your personal information off the internet. Live free from dangerous spam by using Incogni. That's incogni.com/Chuck for 60% off their annual plan. Right now, you can get 60% off an annual plan by going to incogni.com and use the code Chuck. That's incogni.com/Chuck and use the code Chuck at checkout. Thanks to Incogni for supporting MacVoices. Before we wrap up, guys, we were running a little long. Now we're running real long. One last thing I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. I don't know if you all have seen this yet or not. If not, go to YouTube. It is completely free. It is the full-length documentary. It's called The Thinking Game. And if you are interested in AI, and if you're still with us by this point in this discussion, I think you are, go and watch this. It is absolutely fascinating. It's about how a particular AI model was built and how it was taught to teach itself and ended up being able to solve the folding proteins problem. It absolutely is worth your time. Trust me, if you have interest in this. If there's some of you I know that are out there that are looking at this casually, you probably won't think so, but it is really interesting how they did it. So
someone must like it. It's over 309 million views.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, Dave. I hadn't even looked at that because it was recommended to me, and it's like, oh my, this is really good. I stayed up late last night watching it. I really didn't intend to, but it's like I want to see the end. I want to see what's next. So good stuff.
Good find,
guys. Thank you. We got through a lot of stuff. There were a few left on the table, but that's just the way it goes. Let's go around the room and find out where you can connect with all of our panel members when they're not here. And I'm going to flip it around here and go to Mr. Jeff Gamet first. I'm going to start at the bottom of my screen. Jeff, thank you for being here. Where can folks connect with you?
Well, thank you for tolerating me. You, sir, are a saint. So for people that want to, it's true. There's no point in even trying to deny it. Anyhow, you can find me on the social medias as J Gamet, most active on Mastodon and PixelFed and Blue Sky. Then for shows, here on Tuesdays with you for MacVoices Live, Chuck. And then on Thursdays on Dave's In Touch with iOS. Dave, I've been going through withdrawal the past couple days because we haven't been like hanging out together. It's been kind of rough on me. Okay, British Tech Network, The Big Show and the Mac Show. Brent Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Jim Ray, thank you for being here as always and sharing your wisdom. Where can folks find you?
I guess Mastodon. For OV, Jim at techhub.social.
Yeah, when Jim isn't hanging out at the printers, checking the proofs coming right off the press, he's on Mastodon. Jim, I love you.
A couple of days ago, I announced on there that I was 25,000 days old on Sunday.
That was cool.
Oh,
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
25,000.
I don't know if that's a birthday, but
Yeah.
It's happy still being alive day.
yeah.
The fact that you even calculated that, Jim, just shows how much of a geek you really are.
And you know how I calculated that?
ChatGPT.
Heck no. Panorama. Exactly.
Panorama. Eating
Eric
his own
knows,
dog
'cause
food.
I sent him a text message. Yeah. I actually looked it up a while ago, and I put it on my calendar. Like, note that on the 18th.
That's good. That's good.
I thought about having a party, but then I just never mind. But
Yeah.
Do it. It's totally worth it.
it's over now. It's gone.
Well, Bixby, I could ask how many days old you are, and then the quote queen would probably shoot me. So
I have no idea. I have
Yes.
no idea. So
You want us to calculate it for you right quick?
yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Jim, get on that.
Well,
Yeah.
I need to know his birthday.
but I'm not going to say it on here.
Well, if I used it and calculated the number of days and said that,
Yeah,
they'd be able to figure it out.
Thanks, Marty. Well, okay. You want to know where to find me? I'll be at Jim Ray's
please,
house. Yeah, I'll be at Jim Ray's house, hanging my head in shame for.
I
Never
see
mind.
him.
Yeah.
Where
Come
could
over and watch
you?
the Rams game.
Yeah. How about them? Never mind. Every game that I wanted to win on Sunday and Saturday, all my teams lost. Okay.
My team lost.
Sorry, Dave. I was with you. We text back and forth. So anyway, so you want to find me? Like I always say, it's Web Bixby, WBBIXBY. You can find that at all the socials, but I always talk about Blue Sky because
Because
like the name.
it's just like
I like the
Because I
name.
like
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the name. So hold on. You go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. I'm finding out how many days old I am.
I'm going to interject here. If you saw a look of panic on my face a few seconds ago, my monitor went completely dark. Everything was gone. I have no idea what was happening, and then everything came right back. So figure it out.
I just assumed it was something I said.
Well, that's a fair assumption, Jeff, but no,
Right?
not this time anyway. Marty
I'm on
Jencius.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, Marty Jencius, where can we find you? And thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. This cheered up my day, being around with you guys. Find me Monday nights on Vision Profiles, 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Dave and Eric. Tuesdays here with you, Chuck, and the group. It's really lots of fun. Thursdays with In Touch with iOS. Fridays with the Mac Show. And all the other projects I'm involved in, you can find at thepodtalk.net, the website, thepodtalk.net. I found out that I am 24,899 days old. And my next milestone coming up is 24942, which is a palindrome in numbers.
Hey, Marty,
Yeah.
you're an old man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm good with it. I am really good with it. It's great.
You're older than I am. Yeah.
You can tell people what you think and you really don't care. It's just so freeing.
Hey, 21,000 is not old.
No, I'm 24,000.
Still not old.
Okay. Yeah. You're 25,000.
Now it's a competition, apparently.
Hey, Jim, you're old. So there.
I am well aware.
Oh my gosh.
Eric Bolden, how old is your red-bellied woodpecker?
Maybe a couple of years.
Okay.
Old enough for its belly to have turned white.
See, I'm just here to make all y'all feel young. That's my job.
It's working.
Wow. Okay, Eric.
He's got his
Wow.
curl shoes on tonight.
I know that was subtle. I like it. I like
That
it.
was
Eric.
not subtle, Chuck.
Where can we find you, Eric, when you're not here telling Jim that he's old?
I didn't say that. I said that I was young. That's different. And since I had a whole string of young people tell me that I wasn't, it was, a nice change. I can be found on Mastodon, EABOLDEN at mas.to or techhub.social. Otherwise, on Tuesday, Monday nights, I can be found on Vision Profiles with Marty and David. Tuesday nights here with everybody on MacVoices Live. And Thursdays on In Touch with iOS, kind of progressing through all of the different OSs and rounding out the week with everything that's come up. So hit them all. It's fun.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Last but not least, the man in the orange shirt, David Ginsburg. David, thank you for being here.
It is kind of a peach. It's kind of a peach orange. Yeah.
I don't know. On my screen, it's orange.
Yeah, it's orange.
Well, now we know that we need to go do some colors management on Chuck's display.
No, it looks in Zoom. It looks a little more on the peach side too.
Yeah. Well, this display just winked out on me, so it may be gone next week. I don't know. Yeah, Dave, where can folks find you?
Well, you can find me at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/intouchwithios. I'm on Vision Profiles with Marty and Eric on Monday nights. Here on Tuesdays on MacVoices Live. Thursdays we record the show, 8 p.m. Eastern. And Fridays I'm on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. And you can find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon at DaveG65.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I want to definitely say thanks to the folks in the chat room. They were throwing comments in, having conversations of their own. It's always great to see everybody there. Barry was there. Cindy was there. Britt was there for a while. Let's see. Mark Fuccio was there for a while. I'm not sure. If I missed anybody, I apologize, because that's always my concern about trying to call people out, is that I leave someone out. This is MacVoices Live. We do this every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you join us on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'll do it again next week, and we're going to have at least as much fun as we did this week. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.